as I'm sure it has become evident to everyone listening over the last, 2 to 5 years, Stugotz and I are broadcasting our descent. We are soon to be televising our descent.
Really?
I am feeling older every day with every Gerald Williams passing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that I have a better one for everyone in this room to feel a little bit old than the list the NBA put out yesterday that puts Eric Spoelstra in the top 15 coaches of all time. And my initial reaction was no. And then right after it, it was like, well, yeah.
Wow.
And then through all of it, I'm just feeling my age, having witnessed from video coordinator to legend, top 15 is anointed by the NBA, and I'm the show that has made fun of coaches the entire time that he and Spoelstra were coaching the Miami Heat team. Pat Riley, obviously, on the top 15 as well, but we have flown in Tom Haberstroh because the NBA has put out a list. He is on a very hard couch with Kate Fagan in the other studio, and he has made his career off of the things that Spoelstra did. Correct, Tom? You weren't even in this business, and Spoelstra lured you into it because the Miami Heat were so interesting, and you were going to become a journalist covering them.
That's right. That's right. I would like to say I rode the LeBron wave, but the Eric Spoelstra wave was probably more profitable for my career. Yes.
Does he belong on that list of top 15? Because I feel like it's regional pride, and having seen him grow up, win championships, and I believe Stugotz has done indisputably some overachieving with teams all of us are looking at and like, where, how, where,
right,
or combinations. How are they doing that?
It's crazy to see him on the same list as guys like Pat Riley, guys like Casey Jones, guys like Phil Jackson, Chuck Daly, Larry Brown, Red Auerbach. I'm telling you, Rudy Tomjanovich, robbed.
Okay, Mike Ryan has waved a hand at Stugotz.
Rudy T.
Because Rudy T's not in the top 15. But how much credit is Spo getting here, Tom, for revolutionizing positionless basketball?
Yeah, I mean, it's 2 championships, 5 NBA finals, 1 NBA finals without LeBron James. I mean, think about that. Is like he's done everything you want as a coach. He's basically developed like turning Hassan Whiteside into a $100 million player, also winning a championship with LeBron James. Eric Spoelstra has done everything as a coach, turning these diamonds in the rough into real NBA players left and right, and also being able to manage these amazing, huge personalities in LeBron and Chris Bosh, Jimmy Butler, etc. I just wonder, for me, Doc Rivers on that list was surprising to me. Rudy Tomjanovich did not get in, but Doc Rivers did. Mm-hmm. And I also question, where did they come up with the 15? It wasn't a top 10, wasn't a top 25. They ended up with 15. Like, how do they? That's so arbitrary to me.
Rudy T only had like 527 wins. Doc Rivers, say what you will, he's been racking up the wins. I actually think if any coach has a legitimate beef, it might actually be Rick Carlisle.
Rudy T won 2 championships, though. I mean, back to back.
I understand. So you're given the credence for 2 titles over maybe 500 fewer wins?
I always do.
Then Lenny Wilkins shouldn't be on here, right?
Agreed. How many titles for Lenny? If it's just 1, he has no business being on this list. If you have just 1 title, you should not be on the list. I'm sorry.
This is the one that made me...
Steve Kerr's debatable as well.
That one made me laugh. That one, Steve Kerr made me laugh because, good God, Stan Van Gundy, you made a bad choice.
Stan could be on the list.
He would have had that Warriors job if he just liked the owners. And where did he like the owners? Detroit. Steve Kerr steps in. Not just Steve Kerr, but Steve Kerr has to also be looking and pointing at Derek Fisher and laughing because they both came up, no experience. They were both Josh McCown. No experience coaching. They both get the 5-year, $25 million deal. And Steve Kerr becomes eternal champion, having been a general manager with Shaq, really cut to the front of lines without having to do much of the work other than playing, Stugotz, and became one of the great leaders of all time after being punched in the face by Michael Jordan in a practice.
So Rudy T has 2 titles, but I think he has like 500, in the neighborhood of 527 wins. give or take a few. And Doc Rivers is going to get to 1,000 victories 8 games from now. It's
compiler.
He is a compiler, but he's got the one title.
Yep.
It's going to be hard to put Rudy T over Doc Rivers. Maybe Jerry Sloan is the guy out.
It is Don Nelson. So you got Jerry Sloan didn't win a championship.
No.
I don't believe. Did Lenny Wilkins win a championship? Am I being ignorant there?
Was that the Sonics one?
No, he went to the finals twice. I don't believe he won an NBA championship. So
Don Nelson did not win a championship. Jack Ramsey got one.
Dr. Jack.
Is it how many champions or multi-time champions are not on this list? Is Rudy T the only one? You immediately, I love that Stugotz looked at the list and immediately just noticed number 16, Rudy Tomjanovich is not on there. And if he had been on there with the top 16 list, Stugotz would have mentioned somebody else immediately as number 17.
I was trying to help out Stugotz. Lenny Wilkins did win one with Seattle.
Okay.
But here's my question though, Stugotz. Like, how many titles is Rudy T's titles worth if Michael Jordan wasn't involved?
Listen, it's a fair point. I have often said that in my personal record book, Olajuwon never really won any titles because the only reason he won them, it's conflicting. I know, like I got too many balls in the air. But I said, I've never given Olajuwon the rings because he only won those rings because Jordan decided to step away. So I don't know what I'm doing with Rudy T.
Michael Jordan not playing those 2 years is the reason that Tomjanovich is not on this list. But let's talk for a second about Spoelstra because, Mike, did you have the reaction that I did, which was it's the same reaction I had when Mark Jackson said that the best the best jump shooting backcourt of all time was Klay Thompson and Steph Curry before they'd won anything.
He said that like 10 years ago.
Yeah, and my reaction was, no, that's ridiculous. And then I started thinking about it. And I'm like, well, who else would I put there? And if I'm taking Spo out of a top 15 list, because I can't believe that we've all lived long enough. Were you made to feel old by this?
No, I wasn't made to feel old. I was actually surprised that the right thing was done. I fully expected Spoelstra to not be on there because he's still so fresh-faced. And I guess on the NBA historical timeline, is he even like halfway done with his coaching career? Probably not. And
he's over 50.
He just looks so young, but he can coach well into his 70s. And probably he's at the midway point of his coaching career, I guess. We don't really know what the succession plan is for Pat Riley. Maybe he handpicks his next Spoelstra and he assumes that Pat Riley role, which would be an interesting conversation. But I was really happy and vindicated, I felt like, because Spoelstra absolutely on merit is one of the 15 greatest coaches in NBA history. He's proving that as recently as right now with the number 1 seed Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference. He's done it without LeBron James. He's won a title as an assistant too. He's an incredible head coach, and I'm glad he's finally getting that attention nationally.
Should we be talking about this in a way that celebrates Eric Spoelstra while in Miami as a local legend, that celebrates a career that we all have spent time seeing grow, Stugotz, from video coordinator? Kate, what is it that you wanted to say? I'm sorry I interrupted you.
So I'm feeling a little like Tony Reali stat boy over here because Tom asked the question of why was it top 15 coaches? Like, how did they land on that number?
Yeah.
So I tried to figure that out. Turns out at 50, much like they just released the top 75 players, they released 50 at 50. So they had a top 10 coaches list at 50 years as well. There's 2 coaches on it. There's 2 coaches on it that are not on this new list.
Got the boot.
Got the boot.
Wow.
Without obviously having coached another game. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we like to play the quiz game where you're trying to name the coaches that didn't make it on this second list, but poor Bill Fitch got kicked off
Bill Fitch.
the top 15.
Mm-hmm.
And now here, I'm going to just say John Kundla, even though I'm not sure that's how you pronounce his name.
Right.
He also got the boot on this new list.
Well, but this is the other thing. This is the other thing that came to mind when the list was prepared. I'm like, man, that league hasn't had a whole lot of great coaches. I've got a lot of people who have bounced around, but I'm looking at that
Jerry
list and I'm
Sloan.
like, that's pretty much all of them. Yes, why'd they make it 15? Because that's all they had.
Yeah. It got too watered down if they went any more than that.
That's funny to think about, that in the sport. Put it on the poll, Guillermo. has the NBA only had 16 to 17 great coaches ever.
Someone else did a top 30 NBA coaches of all time. So just so you guys know where you get to once you get past 15, Dan, you start talking about guys like Rick Carlisle. You start talking about guys like, the list is really, really funny. You start talking about guys like Rick Adelman, Dick Motta, Cotton Fitzsimmons. I mean, that's 15 through 30 right there. How about that? Cotton Fitzsimmons. I mean, what a name.
Is Eric Spoelstra the youngest 51?
Yes.
He's the opposite of Malcolm Brogdon. Malcolm Brogdon is 29 years old.
That's impossible.
Can we talk for a second?
It's either him or Jared Leto.
I want to have the audience Google Cotton Fitzsimmons just so that you could see.
It's great.
Well, it's just all of it. It's not just how Cotton Fitzsimmons looks, but that he's got the bubblegum cartoony sweet name of Cotton Fitzsimmons. It's like a small song about mediocrity.
Doug Moe comes in at 27. I mean, two first names. I mean, crazy. And Mike Fratello, the czar, comes in at 25.
The czar getting in there. That's unbelievable. How is it possible that the league has only had 18 great coaches?
Tom, what do you make of my contention that Rick Carlisle got boned here?
Yeah, but you have to. Who are you taking off?
Probably Jerry Sloan.
Take Bill Fitch off again.
I think Amin. I wish Amin was here because I don't want to steal his take. He and Zach Harper believe that Jerry Sloan is on there because he recently passed away. And if Jerry Sloan was still with us, maybe he doesn't get on the list.
Wait a minute. All right. Why isn't Amin with us?
He knows the call time. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay. Amin
He's
being
Amin.
I have a couple working theories.
Amin being Amin again. Anytime.
There he is. He's right. He literally just walked in.
Okay. Well,
He's the closest thing we have to Manny being Manny.
Get him situated so that he can talk about this. That's a great look. Booting
don't
the
boot
woman.
Kate Fagan. You get the middle seat.
All three of you on the uncomfortable couch.
Yeah.
All three of you dangerously
Terrible
close to
optics.
each
There
other.
are balls
You two,
everywhere.
I know.
There's not a lot of space here.
Well, ask Amin the question you were asking him, Tom. We were talking about this list of top 15 NBA coaches, and Tom had a question that he wished you were here for.
Yeah. How much does Jerry Sloan's passing affect his place on this list?
It's so wrong.
What a way to start the day, Amin.
Well, good morning, Amin.
That's the team net, I mean.
I mean, Tom just hit you with a
I
sledgehammer.
told you that in confidence.
He puts down his book bag and he gets hit in the face with a lawn blower. So tell us, Amin, do you believe Jerry Sloan is only on this list because he died recently?
Amin's leaving. Amin's gone.
It was a
That
yes
was a dinner.
it was a yes or no question. I mean,
That was not for the air.
so great.
Usually it's
I
Dan
love
that does
that
that.
Tom prefaced it with, I wish Amin was here so he could offer this take.
Morning.
Tom, he can just deny that he ever said it. It's your word against his.
Put it all on Zach.
I put it on Zach too. What did I just do?
Oh,
He ran right to the breakfast flan.
Why is he late?
Yeah, Flan.
I don't understand why he couldn't show up at time so that Tom didn't have to wish that he were here.
It is rather early. He's probably still on West Coast time. Worst Coast.
Speaking of, we're going to have West Coast contributions today from our Super Bowl Radio Road team of Chris Whittingham, Tony, and Chris Cody. They will be boots on the ground, and we will finally activate that portion of our production. If you followed on youtube.com/LeBatard and Friends, you'll see that we got a lot going on.
Why are you promoting it like that? In that voice, I'm saying.
I'm just trying to be efficient.
Okay, good.
What else do you want to tell people about what Tom will do with Amin tomorrow if Amin indeed shows up on time?
This is a very exciting thing. We have all these metal archers in town, and we're going to take full advantage of that. We will have our Turd Deadline special.
A what?
Turd Deadline. Amin and Tom Haberstroh will be live on youtube.com/LeBatard and Friends, leading you up, walking it up to, and reacting to the NBA Turd Deadline.
You're saying that.
Weird.
What kind?
Tour de l'an.
Every year, Stugotz, you celebrate this thing. You love.
Well, I
this thing.
celebrate George Hill finding a new home.
Okay,
Yes.
but this is going to happen. Is it going to be active? Because every year I make fun of you guys that it's a bunch of trades that don't end up mattering. And
Yeah, the
every
big
year,
one yesterday.
Especially, this is a local hour. We're going to be watching the big potential Miami Heat trade. You know what I'm talking about,
I
right?
do not know what you're
Doesn't
talking
even
about.
involve the Miami Heat. Does Goran Dragic get traded to another team that buys him out so Goki can come back home? He's actually been home the entire time, wearing Heat shirts, actually training at the facility, which is kind of weird.
They're deep enough right now that all they need is 15 to 20 Goran Dragic minutes, right?
Yeah, neck first at the hoop.
Yep.
I was actually researching this. Let me see if I can pull a mean away from the breakfast, Flom, because we were researching together, because this has long been the Heat Twitter conspiracy theory all season long. Once Goran made it very clear that he didn't want to play with the Toronto Raptors, that he would find his way back with the Miami Heat. And we found the loophole in which he could. Let me go pull him away from the breakfast, Flom.
Okay, very good. We'll see
Promise
if,
not to do that Jerry Sloan thing to him, though.
but I would like to know when Oladipo comes back, when some of these players that the Heat have, Stugotz, that people are coming to enjoy. The playoffs are going to arrive, you realize, and many of these guys that have gotten them to first in the conference aren't going to be playing very much.
Yeah, but I think we all agree that a healthy Heat team is probably the best team in the East. Like, when those guys are healthy, they're really good. So I don't think people care come postseason time who gets it done. They'd probably rather see that original starting five play together in the postseason.
Tom, what's going on with the Nets? They lost by 30 points. They're not healthy. Last night, it's 9 in a row losses for the Nets. Over on the West Coast, the Lakers are done, Stugotz. They're finished.
Okay.
Westbrook is consoling Anthony Davis and LeBron on the bench as they lose by 20 at home to Milwaukee. This is the inglorious end of LeBron. Even when he didn't make the playoffs the first year with the Lakers, it's because he was injured. This team's not any good.
Yeah, they're not any good, and they're finally coming to the realization that Russell Westbrook, who can't shoot a basketball, it does not work next to LeBron James and Anthony Davis. They need shooters, and like LeBron, up until like about a week ago, had the most three-pointers on the team. They're relying on a 37-year-old Carmelo Anthony coming off the bench to be their floor spacer. Russell Westbrook, it was a disaster from the start, and I think what's going to happen here is I think the Houston Rockets and the Los Angeles Lakers are going to rekindle trade talks and trade Russell Westbrook once again for John Wall. Like, that's what I suspect is going to happen here at the deadline is John Wall, by the way, Clutch client, Clutch Sports, going back to the Lakers. Well, not going back to the Lakers, but you got Russell Westbrook going back to the Houston Rockets in a trade that opens the door for another loophole where Russell Westbrook potentially could go back to the Washington Wizards after he's bought out by the Houston Rockets. That's what I suspect is going to happen here, because that train wreck in the Lakers, over there with the Lakers, it's coming to a head right now.
But, Tom, with John Wall, who hasn't played basketball in, I think, 9 months, maybe a year, would that help the Lakers?
No, but anything other than what Russell Westbrook is doing with the Lakers, that's the upside. It's an addition by subtraction for the Lakers.
It's amazing to me to look back on, Stugotz, given how quickly things got accelerated the last 2 or 3 years. But you remember, we all remember, hey, Miami Heat, don't get Chris Paul. For some of the same reasons you don't want to get Westbrook. You're going to be stuck with a bloated contract at the end. And in the case of Paul, it's not that he's going to be inefficient. It's his body's going to break. There's no way he's going to hold up. If he'd been here, do you realize the Heat would have accelerated all of this much faster if it had been him and Jimmy Butler playing together? That if what you'd gotten in Phoenix was something that the Heat had instead here. And I wanted to ask Amin the question of simply, if the Lakers had, instead of gone Westbrook, if they had just gone Buddy Hield, Amin, how different is all of this given that they'd still be terrible at defense?
Well, there's a third option where they don't do anything. If they just stood pat and brought back the same roster, where would they be? And I think they still wouldn't be the class of the West, for a very simple reason. Both Anthony Davis and LeBron got hurt during this time. They missed considerable time, and that obviously makes a massive contribution to why they're as bad as they are. It's not just all Russell Westbrook's fault. It's also the thing that they got Westbrook for, to ensure against, hey, These guys get injured a lot now. LeBron's starting to get hurt as he gets older. Anthony Davis has always been a guy who misses time. We need someone else to be like an insurance policy. And so if they had stood pat, if they brought in Buddy Hield, I think they'd be better, but I don't think we're talking about them in the same breath as the Suns and the Warriors.
It's interesting, Stugotz, that Russell Westbrook, when this happened, Tom Haberstrow's immediate reaction, when they traded for him, when they got him and formed this team, his immediate reaction was, by adding that, you're worse. By adding Russell Westbrook, you are not going to be as good as if you simply did not add him. And he wasn't even talking about the salary cap at the time. It's fairly amazing to think that Russell Westbrook is getting booed at home.
Yeah, it is. I thought when they got Westbrook, just having Westbrook, because in today's NBA, you're trying to get as many superstars as you can, apparently, and to have three on the court at the same time, LeBron, Russell Westbrook, and Anthony Davis, I thought that would make the Lakers a really good team. Not a championship team, but a team that would certainly contend and maybe make it to the Western Conference
You're putting
Finals.
Westbrook in the class of Davis and LeBron. You might as well say they have four superstars on the court because Carmelo is there.
Right. No, I know.
I mean, there's something else going on there as well. Stugotz is equating more as good. And I always like to think about it, if I had a brand new car and I got new tires, but one of them was from a Ford Monster truck. Like, technically, yeah, oh yeah, this is worth $700, and this is that's got to be better, right? But no, it doesn't fit. It's a huge ass wheel on like a regular sedan. So it's not just that Russell Westbrook isn't quite what he once was. It's also that Russell Westbrook plays a style that's not necessarily a good fit alongside LeBron James.
Spo's not on this list if not for LeBron James, correct?
Oh no, I think. Okay, this is the weird thing. I think LeBron leaving was the best thing for Spo's career in terms of how he is viewed by his peers, how he's viewed by fans and the media, because it's like, oh, wow, it wasn't just because they had three superstars and rolled the ball out. This guy's coaching his ass off. So, yes, I guess you're right, technically, Dan, but it's not because LeBron propped him up. It's because LeBron's departure proved what people in Miami already knew, is that Spo's a great coach.
But you could say that, Dan, you could say that about Greg Popovich if he doesn't get Tim Duncan. You could say that about Steve Kerr if he doesn't have Steph Curry on his team. Every great coach on this list has an all-time, like, a GOAT on that list. Shouts to the GOATs, by the way, off the looking glass. There's only one GOAT in the NBA, or maybe a few, but in off the looking glass, there's lots of GOATs, and they're all on your podcast.
I don't have a mic.
Wait, is the show about how, like, women are treated like second-class citizens in
bad.
sports?
I mean, no, because
You kicked her off the
Should
couch.
we
She
give
doesn't have
her
a
the
mic.
mic?
I mean,
Or should we keep it over here?
I'm going to be sending Tom Haberstroh to the kitchen because there's another microphone. I wasn't
Yeah,
going to send you to
hey.
the kitchen, Kate. I wasn't doing that. Get the other microphone.
Wow.
Hey,
Wasn't
can you
doing
make us
that.
a
I
sandwich?
can't believe that you just sent Kate to the kitchen.
I'm not
Misogyny.
sending her
We're
to the kitchen. I'm
supposed to
not.
be a progressive. Unbelievable.
I'll
Well,
take
yeah.
turkey
Mike,
on rye.
And
with
Amin's in the back
mayonnaise.
row there, too. I don't know if you noticed that.
Amin is look,
Black
and look
History
who gets
Month.
the uncomfortable, glorious couch. It is Tom Haberstroh alone, face of privilege. Look at him, hidden in shame.
We're going to fix this.
How do we only have two microphones for
Because
three people?
We took one microphone for the kitchen area.
Oh, my, it just keeps getting worse.
Yeah, so my heart was in the right place, but we're going to be doing the NBA trade deadline from the kitchen.
We promised the audience that they would get
Makes
to
sense.
see the journey for us falling out of the giraffe's womb, landing on the floor, and getting our giraffe baby legs, and falling to the ground with embryonic fluid. We now have video access to a kitchen, and we now have video access to a studio. We do not have 2 or 3 microphones. We don't have 3 microphones for the 3 people who
I
are
can
out
get
there.
you a third microphone.
Okay, no, it's quite all right. But tomorrow from 2 to 4 p.m. live, this will be a bustling, embryonic newsroom, Stugotz, because as we're doing all sorts of Super Bowl ridiculousness, Tom and Amin, if he shows up on time, will be breaking down in real time when Valanciunas gets traded for the 4th time in 3 seasons.
the Russian.
Black History Month. Dan asking if I can show up on time. Jeez.
Wow.
Black in My Day return?
Amin, we were talking about the one trade that the Miami Heat fans all got their eye on, and it doesn't actually feature the Miami Heat. I'm not talking about Damian Lillard or anything like that. I'm talking about Goran Dragic. And you and I were on the couch where we're going to be broadcasting the NBA trade deadline from, and we were actually discovering that this conspiracy theory has legs.
Yes, the idea that, so if you don't know, Goran Dragic has been seen in Miami. He's been a couple of games. He's around, and originally I thought it was just because he's waiting to get traded. Why wait in cold Toronto that's very restrictive when he can come back here where he still has a place and hang out in the nice weather and keep his family down here? And I didn't think much of it. I just thought he was waiting for his next stop. Obviously, there's an NBA rule that if the Raptors were to waive him or buy him out, it prohibits him from coming back to Miami until the anniversary of the trade. So basically, he can't come back this season unless there's one loophole. He gets traded somewhere else, and that somewhere else buys him out. And in that case, he is able to join the Miami Heat again. So me and Mike were sitting here and saying, wait a second, is that what they're waiting for? They're waiting for him to get traded to another city to get bought out, and then he joins the Heat? And it sounds a lot like the Andy Ellsberg special. You know, he's always got like a back door into getting what he wants.
Can I get from you guys, for the Miami audience in the local hour, some high-end expertise on the Miami Heat? Their pieces are strong and deep, but a lot of these guys aren't going to be playing in a few months. And you're adding Goran Dragic, and you're ostensibly adding Victor Oladipo. So you guys go ahead and break it down with some expertise on what you're seeing from the Miami Heat and what we're to do with top of the conference, more road games than any team in the conference, but playing a bunch of guys who probably won't be playing in a couple of months. So what does it mean that they're on top of the conference when this isn't the guys they're going to be being on top of the conference with?
Oh, okay. Well, for me,
good chemistry. Good chemistry. Good that have
the
you in
eye
the same
contact.
room.
I'm staring at the back of his head.
Good.
Three people, two mics, Dan.
I did that. You chose to sit behind them to eat your breakfast flan.
I did.
Because of the bad look of sitting down and displacing Kate to the kitchen.
It can fit three people, that couch. Not
That couch is so,
comfortably.
Tom, tell us how bad that couch is.
That couch can't sit one person comfortably.
Yeah, it's terrible. I'm actually thinking about laying down on this ottoman here, which would be better. Like the footstool or the foot pad.
Whatever this
when you
is.
decide that all the dirt and grime that's on this thing is actually preferable to this couch, that's where my head is.
You know, when airport seats are more comfortable, that there's a problem. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you guys for your Heat analysis in a second, but the reason that I just realized this, I can't believe I haven't realized it before now. That couch was one of the few things we asked ESPN for. Please bring us a place so when celebrities come in, they don't have to stand up. And I just realized looking at it, that couch is absolutely from a hospital.
It is.
That is absolutely
Yep.
a
No, it
couch
is.
that you
We-
find
Waiting room.
that no one has to ever clean in a hospital. That they did not buy us a couch. They either stole one from a hospital or
They're trying to flip the actual seats.
that is a couch that never gets cleaned and has 20 years of grief on it. Grief and sickness.
They're trying to flip the cushions, but the
cushions don't come out.
Because
That's
they're
a
afraid
problem.
of people stealing it from the hospital.
Yep.
That is, tell me I'm wrong. Is that or is that not a hospital couch ESPN stole and gave us?
Wait, you're claiming ESPN stole the couch?
Where'd they get it from a hospital? Was somebody at the hospital selling couches on eBay out of the back of the hospital?
They auctioned it off when the hospital
Yeah.
was shutting down for health code violations.
Yeah.
That's where this thing came. There's some mysterious stains here, Dan, in some odd places. Why is there a stain on the top of the back of the couch?
Is that your flan?
No, my flan does not make that color, sir.
I need to wash my hands. I put my hand in between these two
Without
cushions.
thinking. Yeah.
Welcome to the top of the media.
Well, what happened, Tommy?
Freedom. Here it is, right here. Look at him cleaning a couch.
I just I don't know what's been in here. These aren't pillows. They're not cushions.
I don't know.
You
I don't wanna
can't
know what
clean
they're stuffed
underneath
with.
here.
No.
Like you physically can't be like, oh, I need to wash these cushions. You
Yeah.
can't do it.
You got to hose it down. Here's some hand sanitizer, guys. Oh, yeah. A liberal
I'm sure this is making
spritzing.
great audio.
You're going to clean the couch. Well, it's funny visually because if you're looking at this couch, people conjure images of what's uncomfortable to sleep on in a hospital, hard. You don't want people getting too comfortable. You don't want them laying around on cushions they put on the floor because they can take them off of the sofa.
It's like you've seen those memes about how this country treats the displaced, the unhoused, how they put modern art, air quotes, installations in places where the unhoused could actually get a night's sleep, however that may feel. You could actually put one of those couches there instead, and nobody would take up the offer.
But back.
They would give it back.
Can Amin and Tom now have chemistry looking at each other, talking about the Miami Heat in a way that will excite the audience that listens to the local hour?
I mean, I really think, as I look into your eyes, that the Miami Heat needed more offense. That starting lineup has an offensive rating of 106.
Be still my heart. You know, Tom, when I look at the Heat and what they've been able to accomplish in this first half of the season, being the number one team in the Eastern Conference, I think about all those players that Dan says aren't going to play, but now they've had meaningful experience winning games. Guys like Omar Yurtseven and Max Strus and Caleb Martin. So when the time comes in the playoffs where they do need those guys to step up and produce, it's not going to be their first time. They're going to be confident and they're going to produce, which is pretty important because this team has old players and they have young players. They don't have enough kind of mid-range players.
Right. I mean, I think it's really important to note that Tyler Hero, most improved player candidate, a player of the year candidate, they rely too much on him off the bench, because they need more shot creators. And I think Goran Dragic is really going to help them there because that starting lineup has a really tough time scoring in the half court a lot of times. So they need more scoring punch, and I think Goran's going to really help them. They don't need to make a big trade at the deadline. They just need one more scoring piece. And guess what? The Dragon is coming back.
I didn't ask you guys to look in each other's eyes longingly or
I enjoyed it.
sensually.
You did ask for chemistry.
I did ask for chemistry, but was that chemistry? Because I felt like that was awkward bedroom.
I felt it.
God, his eyes sparkle in the light. They're like glowing embers, Dan. Like the coals on a hookah.
Really?
So that's why Amin was late.
We've talked before, Stugotz, about coaches who come in and try to win the press conference. But one of the things that is happening when you hire, as the Miami Dolphins have, to clean up an unholy mess described as a shit show by longtime columnist Greg Cody of the Miami Herald, you get a guy and nobody knows much about him except he comes highly recommended from the people who know about these things. But you get to know him a little bit in snapshots as he's introduced to you. And we told you this is a quirky press conference guy. He's an unusual guy, and he is one of the hood ornaments on Here Come the Nerds. Here come, instead of Mike McCarthy and Bill Cowher and John Gruden telling you, I go with my gut. What are those analysts, those math guys? When have they ever called a play on 4th and 2? Instead of those guys, it's now a revolution of the nerds. And Mike McDaniel.
Are you doing glasses?
I'm doing all of it. I'm doing being an offensive schemer, young guy who knows how to trick other people because he knows how to play football better than people who have had their hand in the dirt.
For me, mostly the glasses.
It's the glasses.
Yeah,
He's doing the
definitely.
glasses.
Yeah, no doubt.
Here is his playlist. I don't know if it surprises you or not, but he did an interview with MiamiDolphins.com, and he had his AirPods in, and they asked him about his playlist.
We saw the pictures, we saw the videos of your journey over here to Miami, and the fans want to know, we all want to know, what exactly were you listening to in your headphones on your journey here to Miami?
Well, I mean, what else would I be listening to other than Pitbull, maybe some throwback Will Smith, Welcome to Miami,
Okay.
you know?
Pandering.
So it seemed a little stiff there. He was trying. He's like, so he
what
wants.
else?
He can't go Mark Anthony or Enrique Iglesias or even J Lo. So he's like Pitbull and Will Smith.
If he went Slip and Slide Records, like if he went with Trick Daddy and Trina, everybody would be on board with Mike McDaniel right now.
I know, but when you go Will Smith singing about Miami, that's the lamest way to download Miami that you could possibly choose.
It's either one of two things. Either he's a massive fraud on day one, or that was a great dad joke. One of the two, babe.
Pitbull, I saw that
All us babes.
he called us all babes.
Yeah.
Yes,
What happened?
it's the hookah.
Or do you say maize?
It's the hookah that got him.
You call us Maze?
I called
your
y'all
producer on that podcast that I will not name.
What? Cinephobe?
I'm turning him off.
Turn his microphone down. Let's go back to 2 microphones in that studio. Billy, I saw you light up. Did he pander to you correctly with his mention of Pitbull?
I have my concerns about him now. Yeah. I don't know that this is going to work out.
Because it felt insincere to you?
I have my concerns.
Does Stephen Ross care if it works out? I mean, he's going to get Harbaugh in a year anyway, right?
This again?
Yes.
You're still going with this theory.
I am still going with it, yes.
What was the red flag for you? Was it the Will Smith? Because I thought you'd be down with the Pitbull thing, Billy.
I don't believe he was listening to any of that.
You mean to tell me we were duped by someone trying to curry
You're
favor
gonna
with
start
us
off
early
with
on?
You're going to start off with a lie. He also just randomly ended up on a phone call with Tua, and Mike described this as cute.
There he is, man. I just had to get on with you real quick. We're going to have an extensive professional relationship, my man. One thing I know about you is you have the ambition to be great. My job is to coach you to get all that greatness out of you. And it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be work, but I know you're not afraid of that. So this is an awesome day for me. And I'm damn sure going to make sure that when you look back on this day, you're going to be like, damn, that was one of the best days of my career, too. Okay? But I'll earn that from you. You got me? No, since you can't hear him, there's a camera on us right now. Since you can't hear him, he's telling me how excited he is, and that there's no other coach he'd rather play for in the entire world, which I thought was nice since this is the first time I've really talked to him. I'm elated, bro. It is an unbelievable opportunity for me that I do not plan on wasting in the slightest. I promise you that. I'm all in. You're going to get the best out of me that you could possibly get. There's only one way to do anything great. So, and there's no shortcuts. So let's go do something that's worth doing. It's on, bro. If you don't have eye black at home, you better go get some eye black, because we're going. It'll be outstanding, dude. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for myself. And I think the Dolphins fans should be happy as well.
That's mortifying, what I just heard. That was not cute.
I love him.
Do you see the concerns?
That was cringe awkward. How can you hear that and describe it as cute,
It's cute,
Mike?
bro. Super cute, bro.
Don Shula is rolling over in his grave at all those bros and you dig me or bro.
He made a joke. He's like, Tua says I'm the greatest, and he's so excited. And Tua was just like, you're a laugh riot, and that's just not. We're gonna work hard. This is not the normal coach speak. It was cute.
Just take out the ear pods. You know what I mean? AirPods, whatever they're called, and then we can hear what Tua is saying. Like, how is it that you don't know no one can hear what Tua is saying? And why were they even videoing that?
Do we even know if Tua was really on the other line?
He wasn't. No, he couldn't.
He turned it to the camera.
Yeah.
You saw
It's a
Tua.
screenshot.
I think it was.
That could have been a
screenshot.
video.
I saw
you
it.
Easily
Yeah.
fake that, Mike.
He was waving.
Are
He
you
was wearing his Alabama jersey, I think.
are you guys bypassing?
It's a better
Now,
time.
you make fun of me because I forever sneak into your lives on FaceTimes that are unwelcome. But that sounded like a first conversation between the two, and it sounds like this guy has started with not only a lie about listening to Pitbull on his way in, but a betrayal of the highest order of his quarterback by putting him on television when he wasn't expecting to be used as a prop. He was used as a prop so that Mike McCarthy could give him a bunch of coach speak and do the press conference.
Mike McDaniel.
Mike McDaniel.
Fine.
Super Bowl week double.
Yeah.
If there's one
50.
thing that I want to hear from my new head coach when he gets hired, it's we're going to have an extensive professional relationship.
And we're on camera.
My
Bro.
man.
Bro.
My man. No, that wasn't my man.
That wasn't my man.
All
I
right.
tried to count the bros, but it was more than 3. That was as far as I got.
But I do love a coach who asks, do you have any eye black at home?
That's
I like
great.
that. Yeah, fantastic.
I love this guy.
and then
what
he
a coach
said
does.
there's only one way to do something
Greatness.
great.
There's only one way to
to-
greatness.
Yeah.
But he kept that. He
What's
kept
the
that.
way?
He kept that secret.
What's the one way?
He
The
said
team
that there are no
secret.
shortcuts to whatever the way is. The Dolphin way. I like this guy, and I feel like you guys are urinating on what I perceive to be a really tremendous hire by the Miami Dolphins organization. I love him.
I have nothing wrong with him, but this is an awkward video. And I sent this video to like our group last night thinking like, oh, haha, this is hilarious. And Mike responded and was like, yeah, that's a really nice and cute.
Really like
love,
this guy.
Love that. And I was
Really
like,
love this guy.
This is awkward now.
Love it.
Am
I'm
I
a
just a
Dolphin guy. Am I
bad,
a Dolphin
cynical
guy now?
person?
If the Browns trade for Deshaun Watson, I'm a Dolphin guy. I said it. I'll change my allegiance right now.
Interesting.
How has he won you over by just being what? Clumsily awkward?
By being awkward and being like the antithesis of every new exciting head coach meathead hire that I've ever seen. And I just love Kyle Shanahan's tree. And that's a weird sentence for me to say, but I just love this guy and his offense in San Francisco. I love his attitude. I love his approach. I find it refreshing. I find it cute, bro.
You love him because he's not Dave Wannstedt. He's not Tony Sperano. He's not any of those guys. He's different, right? He's different. Wani. Yeah, but he's different. He's not speaking like it's not coach speak. It's him like, hey, I'm a little dorky. Here it is.
No, that was coach speak.
Yeah, but it's him.
We're
But
going to have an extensive
that was maximum coach speak.
relationship?
What do you think coach speak sounds like if not like that?
You have to do, Dan, it has to be a much stronger voice, a deeper voice. You got to do it. Like, he knows he's a bit dorky. He knows he's a bit nerdy. He's kind of laying into the whole coaching thing.
He sounded like a manager at Tilly's.
Right.
That's actually a good shout. What do you want him to say on the first phone call? How are your pitches? Because we're gonna have you toss to Ahmed just so we can get some linebackers out of position. That's too much for a first conversation. It's like, you got some my black, cool, bro.
I want to play that again just so that we can sink into the maximum awkward. And I want you guys to imagine that this is his new coach. This is Tua's new coach calling him for the very first time. I want you to imagine Tua's end of this as
I mean, what do you want him to say? Should we get rid of Gaskin on the first phone call? No, this is all about excitement. And look, I'm actually going to talk to you for a couple of weeks and not ignore you. Maybe send you a holiday card, and it's not going to be the nightmare that you were living in with Brian Flores.
Okay, but you could have had that conversation.
An extensive professional relationship.
Extensive. You could have had all of that. Without bro. You could have had every bit of that.
But the bro is very Miami, Dan.
Pandering.
So...
he may subscribe to the bro sandwich, where you start the sentence with the bro and close it with the bro. That's a Miami staple.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo. Does Mike McDaniel subscribe to the bro sandwich? And just play this awkwardness again.
What a weird question.
Just play the whole.
Make us a bro sandwich.
She's not in the kitchen. We got a third microphone very quickly.
What's in a bro sandwich?
That's a good question.
Bro, the bro sandwich starts exactly like this, and it closes like this, bro.
Okay,
Is it bologna that's in that?
The Greg Cody sandwich.
If that was a joke, it's a bad one.
Bologna.
I saved it.
Go ahead and play the awkward sound. And I want you to, again, imagine that this is Tua meeting his new boss for the first time, because it sounded to me like McDaniel was explaining to Tua, and hey, also, this conversation I've illegally recorded right now, I'd like to tell you that you're live on a bunch of cameras.
They were in the air, Dan. Maritime law.
There he is, man. I just had to get on with you real quick. We're going to have an extensive professional relationship, my man. One thing I know about you is you have the ambition to be great. My job is to coach you to get all that greatness out of you. And it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be work, but I know you're not afraid of that. So this is an awesome day for me. And I'm damn sure going to make sure that when you look back on this day, you're going to be like, damn, that was one of the best days of my career too. Okay? But I'll earn that from you. You got me? No, since you can't hear him, there's a camera on us right now. Since you can't hear him, he's telling me how excited he is, and that there's no other coach he'd rather play for in the entire world, which I thought was nice since this is the first time I've really talked to him. I'm elated, bro. It is an unbelievable opportunity for me that I do not plan on wasting in the slightest. I promise you that. I'm all in. You're gonna get the best out of me that you could possibly get. There's only one way to do anything great. So, and there's no shortcuts. So let's go do something that's worth doing. It's on, bro. If you don't have eye black at home, you better go get some eye black, because we're going. It'll be outstanding, dude. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for myself, and I think the Dolphins fans should be happy as well.
I am legitimately stunned and shouldn't be. that all it takes with Stugotz is a coach to say, go get your eye black. And he's like, yep, I'll give you my life.
Yep.
I'll cheer for you for the next
Run through a wall,
for the
Dan.
next 20 years. You get so excited by go get your eye black.
So, final tally, there was 1 my man, 2 bros, 1 damn sure gonna make sure, and 1 dude, also 1 crying baby, which is a huge mark off.
Red
in
flag.
my
If you
personal
can't control
record.
your kid, how are you
Yeah.
going to control a football
If you have
team?
kids, just like, what are you doing?
Exactly.
Do you guys think Tua has eye black at home? Like, do you think so? I wonder if Tua
Yes,
does
that's
have.
like his signature
Absolutely.
thing.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Have
Are
you
you
ever
kidding
seen Tua
me?
play?
Well, I have, but you think he has it at home, like at all times?
Is an addresser, yes.
He's,
I don't know.
I believe him to be religious, but he gets like remember the Tebow rule where they wouldn't let him do like John 3:16 on his eye black because at the time we were Islamophobic in this country and we didn't want to set the precedent. But he can do the 2 T's under his eyes, and even they appear like crosses, but they're T's, and he's like, I'm TT.
Tranqui tropi.
Extensive professional relationship.
Like how I lobbed that one in.
It's good.
And I didn't mean to say that we're not still Islamophobic.
All right.
Billy wants to talk about Murderville, and I want to get into this with Billy because I'm surprised to hear that he has fallen down one of these holes given how fear-based he is. So we'll get to Billy's thoughts on Murderville in a second. But Mike and Roy both reacted, I think, the same way. Were you surprised that Billy is now consuming Murderville?
No, I was just laughing because he was on the phone while you just went to him to begin the segment.
Yeah, that
so
happens.
shocked.
He
It's a
was
hot
on
set, babes.
Lots of coordination with LA today.
He was on a landline, and where is L.A.? L.A. will be here shortly.
California, yeah.
Yeah.
Last
Still
we checked.
there.
Where are Whittingham and Chris Cody?
Honest answer? Whittingham, I believe, is in. Tony and Chris Cody, I heard, are waiting for their credentials, but the office isn't open for an hour, so they are not in yet.
That sounds about right. Look at Jessica roaring with laughter back here
This
in
is so
Miami.
unbelievable.
I've only
It's
been
so
there for
us.
3 days.
The Motley Crew.
Of course, Whittingham is in. Of course, he got
Right.
there. He's been in since Monday.
He was the first one there.
Yeah.
He was there Sunday, and he was here Sunday, which is like, how are we in both?
Are you
places?
familiar with the cliche, I'll be there with a hat
Airplane.
on? I truly believe Chris Whittingham is there with a hat on.
A Kangle. I also think that, I don't want to spoil anything, but knowing what they did yesterday, that does not surprise me in the slightest
Yeah.
that Woody's the only one there.
Knowing what they did yesterday, they don't want to say, but I saw some of the pictures, and they are having a great deal of fun. Not surprisingly, they don't belong there, clearly. Whittingham belongs there, professional broadcaster. Chris Cody, on behalf of Sheets and Giggles, is just going out there and making a mess of things.
Shiggles.
Thank you, Stugotz.
Well, if he gets the credential.
Yeah.
If he gets the credential, which we were told he would get. We had houseboat plans. We had mansion plans. Instead, it's Chris Cody outside of Sad Radio Row, seeing if he could get credentials. Maybe he'll get
Waiting
in.
for the office to open.
Waiting for the office to open so he can come and work for the day. That's correct.
How do we think this would have worked on a houseboat?
We wouldn't have had the credential problem.
We flew him out there, and now he can't get in. It's Wednesday. It's Wednesday.
Yeah.
Like, people have been registered all
He
week.
flew out on Monday. He could have stopped by the convention center and said, you know what, let me not risk this. I'm going to do this.
That's not how Chris Cody does things. I mean, know your teammates.
Not how he operates, you know.
I mean, Chris Whittingham also could have picked it up for them.
I don't think you can pick it up for
No.
other people. Only the Super Bowl credentials you can pick up for other people. You have to designate one person. It's very serious. You have to designate one person who picks it up for your entire group.
They're very careful. It is that business, that economy is such an insanity. You've heard me talk before about just the idea of how much a beer company pays to be the official sponsor of the NFL, and everyone's fighting to be the official something of the NFL. But yes, it's a rigorous process to get credentials just to get to Sad Radio Row, where you could talk to Tony Saragusa.
Goose.
Murderville we'll get to in a second, but Stugotz has a top 5 list of TV shows that don't get enough credit.
Oh, I gotta find
And Mike Ryan is saying, no offense to the birds, but he's got a more evil television character of all time. Are you willing to nominate your television character as the most evil ever, or just the most evil going right now?
So I'm a big fan of the show Ozark, and look, I don't want to absolve the Bird family for how they've raised their children. It's an impossible situation. We all know this. But I think Jonah's more evil than King Joffrey at this point. he is just I am screaming at how this kid is mucking things up for his family. Someone needs to give this kid a talking to.
I love how dried up sandpaper Darlene is.
A stern talking to.
The show Ozark, I know Stugotz has said, I'm done with it, stop talking about it, but the first 6 episodes, I've not gotten to the 7th one from this season. After each one, I've turned to my wife, who's tired of hearing it, and just said, that's a good show.
I just watched the 7th episode, which is the half-season finale. Oh, God. Like, Ruth has a moment. In a series where she has several moments, Ruth is just brilliant.
So wait a second. You know that it annoys her, yet you say it anyway? That's marriage.
Because the way they have ended the show, it feels a great deal like Breaking Bad. It's a poor man's version, and there's a lot. I mean, you could sit there if you don't want to suspend disbelief and say and poke holes in a lot of different places, but it's a well done show. It's well acted. It's well written, and Mike Ryan might be right. I don't know whether he's the most evil in his own family because you got 4 people, but I would like to have the conversation of most evil television characters of all time.
Look, this show has plenty of evil characters. There's drug kingpins, cartel runners, and Darlene, obviously. But Jonah this season's coming for that Darlene crown.
I love Darlene. I love that she's got a boy toy. Stugotz, what are your top 5
very exciting
television shows that do not get enough credit? We should see where this ends up here. I'm afraid, given Stugotz has told you that his descent that we are broadcasting is going to include a lot of network television that only old people watch. Are any of these shows recent, given that you have proclaimed yourself anti-streaming this week, and you're going to be an advocate for network television?
I am. I have this list. I'm very excited about it, Dan. I am. And by the way, a great night. What a night I had last night. I had FBI on. So they're doing it Wednesday and Thursday night. FBI on CBS.
Tuesday.
And Tuesday and Thursday, followed by FBI Most Wanted. How about that? 10 o'clock last night. It was fantastic. Like a new spinoff to the series. Oh, it was great.
Is that what it is?
He sent me a picture last night of just his DirecTV as he was settling in for the night. He sends me a photograph of here it is, me just going to go ahead and sit in this couch. And as I dip lower and lower into old age, you will shortly see me watching Century Village television.
Where does PBS NewsHour fit in this top 5? You old fogey.
It's 6, actually, OLI.
Jim Lehrer.
Yeah.
Number 5.
Arrested Development.
I mean, it gets a lot of
great show. Yes, it gets credit, but not enough credit because the show is so good.
It doesn't get it. So underrated.
Underrated, yes. These are my top 5 shows that simply do not get enough credit.
But I would say Arrested Development, many people listening to this would say to you that is a wildly critically acclaimed show that gets, and not a lot of people hate on Arrested Development.
It was canceled.
It was canceled
Yeah.
after 3 short seasons, Dan.
Not enough
Hot
credit.
off in its prime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kind of like Police Squad was. It got good critical reviews, but it was canceled after 6 episodes.
Police Squad comes in, Roy. Was that 70s? Is Police Squad?
No, that was early 80s. That's the TV
Old
show.
Soul Roy.
Yeah. Leslie Nielsen. That's how the Naked Gun got it.
Great show.
Police Squad only had 6 episodes?
6 episodes, yes. It was too smart for people.
You're the only person that ever said the Leslie Nielsen movies were too smart for folks.
You were 3 years old, Roy.
I saw every episode. And it was easy because it was 6. But yes, I saw every episode.
That's not saying a lot.
In an afternoon, you could have watched every episode.
Was this a 30-minute show or a 45-minute show?
30-minute show.
You spent 3 whole hours on Police Squad.
No,
I mean, the list has people talking, Dan.
22 minutes with commercials. So basically, he just saw 80 minutes of television.
It was brisk. Got through that thing quick.
20 minutes of television. Go ahead, Stugotz, number 4.
The Mentalist.
Oh, my God.
Oh, screw you.
I'll tell you, it's a good show, not
I'm
enough
just
credit.
mad at you now.
Why?
No, The Mentalist wasn't good.
I liked it. I enjoyed it. I'm telling you, Michael, it's people like you, okay? That's the reason The Mentalist did not get enough credit. I'm telling you. Watch it again.
So the only way you watch a show is if Jim Nantz tells you to during one of the CBS in-game promos.
And that's who it works on. I've been wondering my entire life. That paper that some old guy has been putting in front of Nantz for 40 years, bitter about his life because he's like, this Nantz makes $7 million a year, and I'm handling him the only reason he's here, which is to tell him that Murder, She Wrote's on after the game.
That was Pat Summerall.
Love Murder,
Pat
She Wrote,
Summerall did
though.
that.
I'm pretty
that
sure
show.
Al Michaels is
Lansbury.
leaving NBC just because of the La Brea reads that they handed him this season that he read with such disdain, and you probably double R'd that on your DirecTV remote.
Yeah, but Pat Summerall, though, he read that copy. Oh, my God. He was like, murder, she wrote. Because of the comma. He had to pause because of the comma.
I long for the day of a drunk Summerall broadcasting games with a professional slur. Put it on the poll, Guillermo. Did Pat Summerall make his...
You're going to have to clarify for the audience.
Did
Curse word.
Yeah.
Yes, forgive me. I don't mean a curse word. I mean
Like
a
a slurring of
professional
speech.
drunken
Wait, like
slur.
murder that broad wrote.
Yes, thank you. Slur is taken on a new meaning. The drunken Pat Summerall slurring his way through a professional promo.
Murder that broad road.
No, it was murder. That broad word.
Just to clarify, we're accusing him of being an alcoholic, not a racist.
That's correct. I
Got
wasn't
it.
accusing him. He
Yes.
was
Yes,
a
he was an
self-admitted alcoholic.
Yeah, only one
But good
reckless
clarification, Billy.
Yes, thank you,
accusation.
Billy.
But suffice to say, just paint that whole era with a bourbon-soaked brush.
While you're at it, though, Billy, would you do me the favor of, please, we'll get to number 3 in a second. Can you just read me how The Mentalist is described by the people who want you to think that The Mentalist
Classic.
is something to be watched? Go ahead and I want the professional explanation for the audience of what The Mentalist is. And I'm with Mike. It's absolutely Jim Nantz programming Stugotz's life.
The series follows Patrick Jane, an independent consultant for the California Bureau of Investigation, CBI, based in Sacramento, California. Although not an officer of the law, he uses his skills from his former career as a successful yet admittedly fraudulent psychic medium to help a team of CBI agents solve murders. The real reason for Jane's involvement with law enforcement is to track down the serial killer known as Red John, who was responsible for the brutal murders of his wife, Angela Ruskin Jane, and his daughter, Charlotte Ann Jane. And this show is in no way ripped off from the USA Today hit show Psych.
Goosebumps.
Goosebumps. Solving murders.
USA Network, that's a fine double.
Solving murders. I mean, someone murdered his entire family, and the Mentalist is trying to repay it. He's trying to find out who did it. I mean, goosebumps. Yeah. Whenever you have someone trying to track down the person that killed their family, Dan, that's a good show.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo. Whenever you have the person who's
It was
trying...
his family, not another person's family?
I think.
Whose death's he avenging?
This is in your top 5.
Wife and kids. I mean, read it.
His
You
own
just
wife
read
and
it.
kids.
His own
Yes.
wife. So
Yep.
Red John killed, and I also want to Google like this Red John character. Make sure I'm not saying something wrong.
Red John is a fictional character and the primary antagonist in the CBS crime drama The Mentalist for the first 5 seasons and half of the 6.
Oh, and in the Wikipedia it gives away who Red John is. Well,
As a serial killer, he is believed to have begun his killing spree in 1988 and has, with his operatives and acolytes, killed more than 70 people in California, Nevada, and Mexico. Ooh.
wow. And look, the pictures gives away that Red John was either posing as a law enforcement officer or, perhaps a twist, was one.
Number 3.
Franklin and Bash.
Oh, come on, Stugotz. Are you
It's the
serious?
in-game promos.
Come
It
on.
has to be.
Why are you laughing at your own list?
The name makes me laugh. I mean, it's a great show, but the
It's
title
not
of the
a-
show makes me laugh.
It's not a great show.
It's an underappreciated show, man. I'm telling you.
No.
4 seasons.
Yeah, no, Franklin and Bash, you got my guy from Bayside
Zach
High, right?
Morris.
From
Yeah.
Saved by the Bell, Zach Morris.
Mark
Yeah.
Paul Gosselaar.
There you go.
You're
and,
welcome.
And you got the guy
MPG.
from Road Trip. Who,
Breckenmeyer.
Yeah, he looks
Yeah.
like a poor man's Scotty Brooks.
Yep. Thanks, babe. Yeah.
Yeah.
He does.
You know, I'm wondering also, Mike, you're accusing Stugotz of falling for the live reads. Also, though, there's a thing where you're watching the game on TNT, you fall asleep, you wake up, and this is the show that's on your TV.
It's
Castle is one of those.
So
Charmed.
Charmed does
Charmed.
big
Charmed.
buku numbers.
Yeah.
The first sentence of this bio, though, sounds exactly like something Stugotz would enjoy.
Yeah.
The characters Franklin and Bash, for whom the show is named, are an unlikely duo of streetwise attorneys.
Uh-huh.
Mike and Mike of attorneys. One's a metrosexual. The other's a former jock.
I'm hooked.
Number 2.
Dan, this is big. Maxwell Smart.
Get Smart?
Get Smart.
Yeah, Get Smart. Sorry.
Yeah, so you got the name of the show wrong.
Listen, it was the late 70s
Number
into
2.
the early 80s. It's number 2. It was never appreciated. It was
That's
so
not
ahead
true,
of its time.
Stugotz.
Dan, I'm telling you, the ratings
was
were
a
not
huge-
great.
It was a huge hit.
Look it up. Ratings were not
They
great.
made a movie like 5 years ago.
I understand all of that. I am just telling you, was it Jamie Farr? No, it wasn't Jamie Farr.
You don't know anything about your own
It
shows.
was Don Adams.
Yeah, it was Don Adams.
how-
I am telling you, the
This is
ratings
the
were a
worst, this
disaster.
is the
Gadget.
worst list
Everyone
you've
was
ever put
talking about
together.
MASH. Everyone was talking about
Number 1.
Hunter. Hunter.
Now we know what he was trying to do. That's all he was trying to do. He put together a shitty list so he could shout Hunter again this week.
I'll tell you, Hunter is one of the all-time great
stop
shows.
it.
Fred
Just
Dreyer is fantastic.
Stop. Just stop. Dear
What's
God,
Hunter?
stop.
You see what
It's
you
that
do? You're
Fred
not
Dreyer
appreciating
show.
the shows that I'm telling you are underappreciated.
We've mentioned this goddamn show every day Super Bowl week. I don't understand. Is it the Rams thing?
Get Smart was not appreciated because of MASH, and then said that Jamie Farr was in it, who was actually in
Jamie
MASH.
Farr was in MASH.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a mistake on my part.
There's no way those 2 shows air at the same time.
But I'm telling you, like Three's Company, MASH, they got all the love, different strokes, and no one was paying attention to that show, Maxwell
I think
Smart.
you're
It's a great
across
show.
4 different decades right now.
Get Smart.
Stugotz, it is always whack-a-mole with you,
Yeah.
but this is the single worst list you've ever put together. Tom, do you have anything?
Got you guys talking.
Yeah, I'm doing some research here. Get Smart won 7 Emmys.
Yep. Should have won 10. I mean, yeah.
Mel Brooks ran that show. Mel Brooks ran that show, man.
Into the ground.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I want to choke this microphone.
Sergeant Rick Hunter and his colleague D.D. McCall embark on a tough fight against the underworld with cunning wit and bullets.
Oh, bullets. Dan, bullets.
Cunning wit and bullets.
Who cares about the
I
wits?
want revealed to the audience how little thought you
bullets.
actually put into this list, that you just wanted to make a list that ended with Hunter.
Yep.
You had your.
I want to choke you for the mentalist. I want to choke you.
I don't know. That
This is my list. I mean.
I understand that we started today with lists, and I understand that this entire
Franklin and Bass.
this entire construct is filled with arguing about lists. But I'm going to maintain that in the history of putting things in order, no one has given it less thought than you just did. You didn't know any basic information about all these shows.
Totally fair.
Nothing.
Jamie Farr.
You made Jamie Farr the mentalist.
That would have been good.
Very slight break here because we need a timeout to finish by 40. Go for it. Still rolling audio, Lewis? Still rolling video, still rolling audio. All right. Mics are hot. Let's go again.
Billy, you're in your phone again as I want to ask you about
Checking on the
Murderville.
credentials. What's going on there? Office is still closed.
Jesus.
Let's.
It's 6:16 in the morning. What time is it there?
This is funny
Oh, 7:16.
for a number of different reasons. But one of the reasons that it's funny is because Chris Cody was yanked back and forth off of this trip. He was going, he wasn't going, he was going, he wasn't going. We were all going, he wasn't going. And at the very end, his sponsor, I don't mean his alcohol sponsor.
That's what it sounded
I
like.
mean Sheets and Giggles. Turbo-engined Chris Cody.
Hold
So-
on, you're breaking some news to the rest of the room back here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cody
I could've
wasn't
gone.
supposed to go,
He wasn't supposed to go.
but we need his shenanigans in L.A.
That's the final desperate pitch that he made to one co-founder.
Yes.
Yeah, this is one of the problems we run into around here, that sometimes the protocol of the executive branch gets circumvented because a whimpering Chris Cody wants to go to the Super Bowl to stand outside Media Row 3 days late with no credentials.
It's Radio Row. That's a big
It
fun.
should be
Oh,
Media
boy.
Row, though. It really should be.
I will tell you that Chris called me after he found out that both he and I were not going, and his heart was broken. Like, he really wanted to be there. He did. And so I'm happy that he's out there experiencing this.
Yeah, I'm happy that we
But
also
he's
had
not
a big
experiencing it.
Well, he is and he isn't. I mean,
Yeah, we had a big meeting where we had to break it to him. All right, this is hours-long meeting explaining why he can't go. We were explaining budgets and variants, and then all of a sudden, one final desperate plea to the co-founder, and he's locked outside Media Row, as Dan called it.
You know what? The both of you have lost a shit ton of money this week, man.
Yeah.
You've been
Oh,
fined
yeah.
all over the place.
Who's paying for all of this?
Jeez,
I've got a
Christ.
kitchen cam, and I got a fully stocked kitchen, and I got a cafecito guy. I'm pretty sure that's just his title.
I think Dan has it covered and just fines, though.
You're giving all these people stock options. It's incredible.
I've set a record for fines without killing people accidentally. The $50 fine, I haven't gotten one of those, but this has been an epic disaster of a start for me financially because yesterday was $30. It was bang, 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 and I deserved all of them. And it would have been $60 if I'd done Stugotz's nonsense. And now I'm into it again because I called Mike McCarthy. I think I'm going to do that a lot this season.
You'll get fined a lot.
You're going to put the S on him. You're going to put the S on him and take it away from Josh McDaniels. It's going to be confusing. There should only be McDaniels. This whole McDaniel nonsense, it's very confusing. And it's not going to help Dan for the next few years.
Billy, Murderville, please. You've been wanting to talk about Murderville. I'm surprised that you find yourself in the world of Murderville. This is not something I would have thought. I didn't think you would choose darkness.
Have you seen it?
No.
Oh, my God. It's a story of two loved ones. Pregnant wife gets murdered. The husband has to avenge her death over a series of things. We find out at the end it was the husband that did the murdering.
Spoiler alert.
Well, it's actually a show that Will Arnett does, and it's more of like a comedy, like improv show.
Well,
it has nothing to do with Wives and Murder. I made that first part up.
Marshawn Lynch is in it, is he not?
Yes. So this is the way that it works, and I didn't know it. Have you? So you have
It's a
kind of
great
heard
premise.
of the show.
I haven't seen it. I've heard of the show because it's such a great premise. It's there's so few. I don't know. There's a lot of great content out there and new content, but I think I can say with all of the people competing for your attention, there are very few that do it with something that you watch and are like, wow, that's a great idea. I don't know about the execution of it, but what they're trying to do, improv and ad lib around a crime, seems like a funny construct.
So basically, I didn't know this the first two episodes, because I didn't read what it was. I just, saw Will Arnett, so I wanted to see it. The way that it works is you have Will Arnett playing this detective, and then you have a celebrity come in who's his deputy detective, training detective, whatever. And then as the show goes on, it's basically a live murder mystery where they very clearly, I found out, had no script, and Will Arnett is doing everything to kind of distract them and throw them off. And then at the end, the celebrity has to guess who did the murder or committed the murder, and sometimes they get it right, and sometimes they get it wrong, Dan.
I mean,
I got tarred and feathered the other day because I merely said the words, the guy got away with it at the end of Tinder Swindler. You let Billy give away massive spoilers, and you're acting like Colin Cowherd, leaning forward, so interested in every word he has to say. What's that about?
I yelled spoiler alert at him, and he
none
said,
of that was true. I made all of that up. I thought Dan thought it was a serious show, so I tried to make it about a wife being murdered and then the husband avenging the death.
Like The Mentalist.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Classic.
Good show.
I don't know.
starring Jamie Farr.
Classic Billy.
Killy.
Is it good? Is it well executed, or is it a lot of cringe with ad-libbers who aren't good ad-libbers because there's going to be a lot of fat and bad if you don't have professional comedians?
I thought it was good. I mean, it's like 6 episodes. It was a really easy watch. I watched it in 2 days. It's fun. I wanted more death.
Do you believe it to be innovative as an idea? Because to me, the execution is tough on that one. But when I heard about it, the only reason I heard about it is because it's so rare these days to hear a content idea where you're like, oh, that's clever. That's something that no one else has tried before.
It worked. I mean, I hope that a lot of people don't do it and then run it into the ground. But it was good. I mean, the first 2 episodes, again, I didn't know what the show was. And then I realized, oh, wait, they very clearly have no idea what's going on. Conan O'Brien was the first one. I was like, yeah, he has no clue what's going on here. Did he not get the script? And I was like, oh, there is no script. It's just Will Arnett.
Hold on, Billy, because when you start the show on Netflix, there's a couple slides that tell you that they don't have a script.
Nah,
It's
don't read
Did you
important
just
information
miss
to have.
that?
No, you
Billy.
don't need to read that.
It said like this show's based on a BBC Three show.
No. If something says skip intro, I'm hitting that every single time.
It's pretty like important
Nah.
information though, like Dan said.
I
like,
figured it out 3 episodes in.
The 2 episodes must have been bad, though, to watch if you don't have any idea. You have to know the premise going in. Otherwise, you're like, this is terrible, no? I'm surprised you stayed in it for 2 shows
I
without...
can't believe that you watched 2 episodes of that show and we're like, it's weird that
Conan's really bad in this.
yeah, like
Yeah.
oh, what? He's missing his marks.
What's a critical reception for that? How's it going? Is it being well received?
I think so. It seems like the Marshawn Lynch episode is very well received. People
Yeah.
like seeing Marshawn Lynch act.
I got to be honest with you guys. I just watched 6 episodes. I didn't do like a deep dive into the production history or what the reception is. I just moved on to the next thing.
2 of which you didn't
Yeah,
understand.
I started watching Police Academy and I was done. Boom. There's 7 of those apparently.
The Metacritic rating is 69 out of 100.
Kate, do you have anything for us on our obsession with critical reviews?
Yes. Well, speaking of, I think you're speaking mostly of Rotten Tomatoes, right? When we're talking about critical reviews. I just ran this theory by Amin. He seemed amenable to it, and I've been noticing it the last couple months. Because every time we go to watch a show at home, I always go to Rotten Tomatoes. And it seems to me, over the last few years, that the critical compilation score and the audience score have diverged more and more. Because I think it's a reflection of society, actually. And I could be getting too meta here. But I've noticed that the audience score ends up being higher for shows that the critical score is lower, which I think Stugotz's list is reflecting accurately. Mm-hmm. And the inverse is also true. If I see something's like 90+% on Rotten Tomatoes, then the audience score is usually like 50%. Because critical reviewers seem to be from the liberal, left-leaning, urban centers. So I think we should all keep an eye on this theory. Amin seemed to think, we could do a regression on this.
Yeah, it strikes me as the type of thing that if you could track it, the problem is they're all live scoring, right? So you'll go and you'll look up, for instance, Get Smart, and you'll see new reviews for Get Smart.
7 Emmys, 14 nominations, and 2 Golden Globes. Yep, continue.
Should have
So
been more.
it makes it a little difficult to differentiate between how things were being scored back then versus how they're being scored now, because they're still all being scored. But there is also something else, Kate, and that some of these critics nowadays try to be too smart. You guys ever seen The Irishman on Netflix?
Oh, yeah, terrible. I saw Robert De Niro try to kick a guy and try to convince me he was in his 30s when he was very clearly pushing 80.
So it's like that movie is long and not very good. But because it was Scorsese getting the Netflix blessing, all these critics fell over themselves to say, oh, my God, what an amazing tour de force. And it's more trying to play to the virtue signaling than it is actually a critical look at the movie.
Which I think is speaking to what I'm speaking to.
Yeah.
Which is the audience score tanks because everybody's like middle fingers up to what all these critics are saying with your virtue signaling and you think you're so smart.
Yeah.
This is just a boring movie.
Yes. And
I kind of feel like there should be a podcast about movies that have a low Rotten
Cut it.
Tomatoes
Don't-
score.
yeah,
Some of them
I'm
don't
cutting-
get
we're
fair
cutting- we're-
shakes.
we're-
Ascertain.
we're
Yeah.
Turn his
cutting his
microphone off. But keep Kate's on because I want to talk to them and not him about what the hell is anyone talking about virtue signaling in The Irishman? What was the virtue signaling in The Irishman?
I can't cut his mic off and leave theirs
That's
on.
right.
I had to physically unplug it, but I'll
Oh,
go ahead and
man.
do that.
I
for
know you want to marginalize my people, Dan, but it's not going to happen. Not
Whoa.
this month.
What is the virtue signaling
this
in
month.
The Irishman?
The virtue is I am an esteemed critic, and I understand that Martin Scorsese is one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. And so you guys don't get it. You guys think it's long and boring because you don't really have refined palates when it comes to
Yeah.
cinema.
There was that one cut in that long shot, and it was difficult and beautiful, and it was a 6-minute long shot. It's stuff like that.
Brava, brava, and they stand up and they applaud in the theater. People who applaud in
Brava?
theaters.
Yes,
Brava.
That
with-
was a Netflix release.
No. They had to do in theater to be eligible for awards. So yes, it was a Netflix
You're right.
release, but they did have a run in LA of it in theaters, and all the critics went and they swooned. They
swooned.
swooned
They
at the great Marty.
They stood and clapped at the end.
Yeah.
They call him Marty to show that, like, oh no, like, we get it. We're close friends.
I don't have data on this, but I've noticed what Kate's saying, that divisions are large. I used to trust that if the critics and the audience if both of them were over 65 and they were within 10 of each other, it seemed a lot closer than what you're getting now, where we can fight about everything, including the internet comment section about whether a movie is good or not. And there is a disconnect between, I'd say, elite movie critics who believe they know more about movie making than both the directors and the common man who just wants to go and enjoy the movie.
I only care about the audience score. I don't care what the critics say. The critics are looking for things that are different than what we're looking for. I'm just looking to be entertained, and I trust the audience will tell me if I'm going to be entertained. Like The Mentalist, 88% audience score. How about that? And the critics, they didn't even score it. Why? Not enough credit. I mean, how about that? I'm telling you, Dan, no one paid attention to this show except the audience, and 88% of the audience thought it was great.
Yeah. I mean, Stu's a man of the people.
Yep.
So that's why he's looking at the audience score. I would say until 2 years ago, I never looked at the audience score. I always just looked at the critical reception score. But now I actually do look at the audience score because I think that division has gotten... I've watched a lot of movies that were boring. And I've now tuned into the audience score because I want both of them to be above 80%, or I don't watch it. But I do think that this division has gotten bigger and bigger, where you'll see a show that actually might be pretty good, but people are pissed that they cast like a black lead, or like the story has been spun to a modern way, and the audience score will tank because of it.
Stugotz, have you seen Red Notice on Netflix?
No, I haven't.
That's your kind of movie.
That's your kind of
would
movie.
love
You
that.
gotta watch Red
You
Notice.
would love that.
He's done with streaming though, so he's not going to watch
Yes,
that.
he's just watching
See if I can figure it out.
FBI
Yeah.
International.
What's it called?
When is it going to be
Red
the movie
Notice.
of the week on CBS?
Let me know when it gets to the big network.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo, please. Is Kate a snob for demanding that both her Rotten Tomatoes scores be over 80%? And also, we cannot let slide here that Stugotz actually just uttered the sentence without comment from anyone. No one paid attention to this show except the audience.
I mean, not a single critic out there wanted to give it a score. Not one.
But you can't say the same. You made it say, you thought you were making such a good point with your sausage finger
did.
show. No one paid attention to the show except the audience.
I was hoping no one noticed. No one did, except for you. You're always there.
Why did The Mentalist get 0 on a critic score? No, I don't what are you telling us about The Mentalist getting 88%?
There's not even a score. 88% of the audience, the average audience score is 88%. There's not even a score for the critics on the other side, on the left side of the page, you know?
Okay, but if you do like slightly more Googling, you can go on Wikipedia, and there's a bunch of reviews from critics in the critical reception subcategory on the Wikipedia
I got
page.
what I wanted. I got 88% of the audience telling me that The Mentalist is entertaining. That's it.
There's also, for a show that no one paid attention to except the audience, 17 million viewers in the first season.
But isn't there this other thing that's happening with The Irishman? Is the overcompensating by the critics for not giving Scorsese a big Best Picture award?
I feel like anything
Yes.
But he
Scorsese
did
makes
get
is
Best
going to get
Picture.
applauded.
He did.
He
But
got
he
it
did
for
eventually, but
Got
I
it for
feel
The
like
Departed.
critics are overcompensating now. I mean, like, I actually was in love with Scorsese well before everyone else was. It's not my fault that he didn't get Best Picture for the longest time.
It's
So now they're kind of like overdoing it.
It's the same reason why Laker fans are excited to get Russell Westbrook, because they're looking at their scrapbooks and say, "Oh, remember when he did this and remember when he did that." But the reality is, Russell Westbrook, who did all those things, is not the Russell Westbrook who's here. And Marty Scorsese, who did Raging Bull and Goodfellas and all those great movies, is not the one who's here doing The Irishman.
Yeah.
Sorry, Adnan.
Russell Westbrook is a monster truck tire on a sedan.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, that's the way I think about it. Yeah.
I was going to compare it to Leo not winning an Oscar until The Revenant, which was a terrible movie in which he had like basically no lines instead of when he should have won it for any of the other really great films.
He had
Bear
to
should've
act
won.
his ass off.
Yes, the Bear should have
the
won.
Bear
Supporting
should've
actor. Yes, absolutely.
Should have won.
Put it on the poll, please, at LeBatard Show. Should the Bear have won an Oscar in The Revenant? And also, I believe that that Scorsese won an Oscar for what is the single most ham-handed ending to an allegedly great movie that I've ever seen, which is a rat physically running across the screen to indicate
He's better than that.
to
man.
you that Matt Damon, spoiler alert, was a rat. Like it's like that's Scorsese. That's the genius of that's when he wins the Oscar, ending the movie with the symbolism of a rat running across a railing.
No, Mike says it's great.
That was
No,
great.
no, I'm with Dan. That was
God.
so ham-handed, whatever that means.
You
Sausage
love-
finger-handed.
you love
for
that?
Stugotz.
Symbolism. You don't like symbolism?
You didn't get it because
I didn't get it. Was the
like
problem?
informants are usually called rats. Snitches
Yeah.
called rats.
You're not supposed to get slapped in the face with symbolism, though. You're supposed to
come
like
on,
interpret
Scorsese.
symbolism.
That's where you're going to win the Oscar. You won the Oscar with the
Hold on.
most
I will not
heavy-handed.
abide. I will not abide by any Departed slander. In the rewatchable category, that movie is almost as high as it gets. I have
like-
that as a 99 on rewatchability.
I otherwise watch.
Come on, the one Alec Baldwin punch when he gets really pissed off. There's so many great moments in that film. It's an acting paradise.
I am not disputing that it is an enjoyable film to watch. I'm simply disputing that the ending was any good. It was the least subtle ending that he could have gone to.
Okay, so first of all, Jack Nicholson is the head of the mob, but he's doing all these hand-to-hands and he's on site for all these deals. What mob character does this? Then the scene where he dies, it was so cartoonish I laughed. It was comical. He did the, oh. He looked like Fred Sanford getting a heart attack. Elizabeth, I'm coming.
No, they addressed that in the film. Like, why are you still here? And he just couldn't get away from the action, and the way that he died kind of reinforces that he's just this old guy. Like, what the hell are you doing here?
Maybe not. Maybe fuck yourself.
Mark it. Maybe mark it. There was actually Matt Damon was on Mark Maron's podcast, and he did this whole bit on how Jack Nicholson was telling him to improv within Scorsese's means because it's not you have some reign over dialogue if you're someone as talented as Jack Nicholson, and how he pushes it all the way to the extreme, and how that scene in the field where they touch it, like have a little bit of humanity in there with Jack Nicholson when he shoots a person in the field, and he goes, "She fell funny." It was all derivative of this whole exposition on how she fell funny, and that was the one thing that Scorsese kept. So check out that. Why am I promoting Mark Maron's podcast? But it was a
You're
really
so
good
used to-
insight.
you're just so used to
I
promoting
love The Departed.
podcasts.
I love The Departed.
Well, but you said you weren't here for any Departed slander, and it
It was
sounded to
great.
me like Amin gave you some Departed slander. It
But
sounded like Amin
But
didn't.
I systematically took his argument apart. There was a reason for it. They even addressed it within the film.
Dan, are you a co-op?
He's a co-op.
Your limited Boston accent is not terrible. Kate wanted to say something there. I don't know what it is that she wanted to say, but she was ready to get in, and then she ran out of the room.
Yeah, I wasn't so sure of what I want. Oh, I wasn't so sure of what I wanted to say, but we put this up on the poll about 80%. Am I a snob? 80% for wanting both audience score and critical score. The first response is critic scores can't be trusted. The next response is user scores can't be trusted. I feel like I bet I could go to all of their tweets and figure out all of their political beliefs based on those two things.
Why can't we go anywhere without that argument breaking out? Why is there no safe space anywhere in the real world or the virtual world where we can just go without those two people arriving to argue about everything on the opposite side? Even the goddamn Irishman. Yeah, I mean, come on.
Who's arguing about it? Is Adnan the only person that thought it was okay? Because I think everyone came away with the same experience from The Irishman. Way too long. This is not good.
I thought it was fine, but it was way too long.
There was fine.
No movie needs to be that long except the Lord of the Rings Extended Edition.
You can argue fine, but I don't hear someone pounding the table for The Irishman. That it's an incredible movie.
I don't want to sit through 4 hours of fine. It has to be great, not fine. I left out Quantum Leap.
Oh, yes.
Bakula.
Yes.
That's a
Great
good one.
show.
Dean Stockwell.
Was it 4 hours? Was The Irishman 4 hours? Would it have been okay to you if I'd given it to you in 2 or 3 parts? If I made it 4 parts, The Irishman a 4-part series, you would have been fine with it?
Dan, he had Action Bronson in his movie. Like, we didn't need Action Bronson to be in this movie. It was such a, there were so many gratuitous scenes, even if it were episodic 1 hour episodes. It was too much. It just had, this is what happens. They go to Netflix and Netflix says, editors? Ha! You don't need editors. You can do whatever the hell you want. And these filmmakers go crazy, and that's why most of these Netflix movies that are done by like prestige directors are too long and too boring, because what it turns out they always needed was that check and balance of someone saying, that's too much. You don't need all that. Cut it down.
You say that, but I'd argue that Netflix is more of a business model than a content model, and all they want to be able to say is this is the place you can get only Scorsese by itself. You can't get it anywhere else. You have to come here. You got to buy a subscription. It's all based on how do I lure you into this tent?
Oh, absolutely. That's the allure to the filmmakers, that you get to make the movie that you want to make in your vision or whatever. The allure, I guess, to the audience members, or the audience is like, oh, I want to watch Scorsese. I want to watch these big name people, so I'm going to go to Netflix. But I'm saying to you that giving them carte blanche, which kind of feels counterintuitive, to give these creative geniuses carte blanche, turns out it's not such a great thing. It turns out they did need someone be standing over them and saying, this is too long, cut it down. It's the same thing with Zack Snyder in that Justice League, which was an abomination. And for years, all we heard was, ooh, the Zack Snyder edition would have been so much better. And so when they did it, it was 4 hours long. I watched it, and it was incredibly boring. It might have been worse than the original version, because there was no one standing around saying, cut this thing down.
Amin is right. We need editors. Dan, we need rules. We live in a society.
Well, isn't this just an analogy for newspapers and the internet? Is that like newspapers had real estate? You could not have a word count over X, and the internet was like, oh, we're just going to let you write as much as you can. And was the quality of journalism better over the internet rather than in newspapers, Dan?
Juju, please grab the microphone. I didn't like how you got boxed out there by Tom, even though you're in the same room.
I'm used to it by now, Dano.
Now we
I
need.
just wanted to know, Action Bronson, if you can hear me, just know I'm sorry.
Juju's in that back row also, I noticed.
I noticed that all of a sudden there's in the back row. Yeah. Back
Not
history
even lights
month.
back there. It doesn't look like.
Why are Juju and Amin practically standing up in the back?
Wait a minute.
Wow, I mean, deserved a better fate.
Dan can't make that joke.
Oh.
Oh.
Good call, Mike.